We are here with the American Society of Interior Designers Hawaii chapter to talk about the impact that design has on our well-being. Design impacts lives. ASID Hawaii chapter president McKenna Makizuru will moderate today's discussion. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. My name is McKenna Makizuru, president of ASID, and it's lovely to be here at this show. Our panelists are Nancy Schnurr from Universal Interiors, Lisa Nguyen from Peter Vincent Architects, and Chun Lee from MCYIA, Interior Architecture and Design. All of our qualified professional interior designers are members of ASID. We all know how much impact design has on a home. Today, I'll ask our members how interior design impacts both the emotional and physical well-being of everyone in the home, and we'll look at elements that contribute to creating a sense of wellness and happiness. So for my first question to all of you is, how does interior design impact a person's health and well-being? And we'll start with Nancy.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I feel in the type of work that I do, which is aging in place and universal design, the work I do truly impacts a person's life with regards to how they can function in their home. Aging in place simply means that you can remain in your home as opposed to moving to a care facility or a nursing home, and also have other members of your family live there as well. So with universal design, all members of a house can be comfortable and live more safely than they may be now. I also do a lot of care in specifying materials that have low VOCs, which basically means that there's no off-gassing. If there's products that have chemicals in them, they can emit the toxins into the air long after the products are installed. So I try to choose materials that do not have the toxins to begin with, and I think that overall is better for every family member.
Great, thank you. And now we'll hear from Lisa.
Aloha, my name is Lisa Union, and I work at Peter Vincent Architects. I'm an associate project manager and interior designer. We are known for high-end residential, commercial, and retail. So per the US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, an individual spends 90% of their time indoors. I'll give you a second to think about that. Okay. And in recent studies, or in recent decades, indoors have higher concentration of pollutants versus outdoors. For an example, everyone has always commented on, oh, Hawaii is getting hotter these days. And one of the reasons for that is the heat island effect, that there are asphalt on the roads, which is like a darker material that tends to absorb the heat and releases out into the atmosphere, in which that causes individuals to use their AC more often and without doing the proper ventilation, like with the outdoor air inside. Or types of cleaning products with strong VOCs, as what Nancy mentioned, which are volatile organic compounds that are chemicals that cause eye, nose, and throat irritation. Or furniture or building materials that off gases, which is the smell of a new product. An example of materials that off gas are paints, stains, carpet, any type of flooring, cabinets. And in order to get rid of materials off gassing, you need to ventilate with outdoor air, or you do a complete flush out of the interior space. Or you can mechanically ventilate it as well, and make sure you swap out the filter before occupancy. So individuals who are more susceptible to the higher concentration of indoor pollutants are the very young, the elderly, people with cardiovascular or respiratory diseases that tend to spend more time indoors. So as an interior designer, we look out for the things that was just mentioned in my response and make sure what we or you that specify on your project or design is for the greater good of the individual. And back to you, McKenna.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And Chun, what is your response?
Well, we have a lot of requests for wellness, and I think wellness does enhance the quality of life of people who yes, of the spaces. And great spaces, great interior spaces can provide emotional and spiritual health and growth, depending what that means to each client. Some are about functionality, some are about how well their kitchen works, and some are about having clean, like how Lisa answered before, environments for their health, and some are about healthcare, some are about pampering themselves and to create these sanctuaries, spaces to rejuvenate their space, their body and mind, to give energy. And from COVID, we have a lot of people requesting like multifunctional spaces that can be a together space or a separate space because they have to be together all the time. And so each of them are craving these kind of spaces that are improving their lives where they can't really be outside. Yeah. So
Great. Thank you. It's so incredible to hear how ingrained design is in our lives. And today we're seeing so many changes in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Could each of you share how you and your clients have adapted and evolved in response to the pandemic? We'll start with Nancy again.
Thank you, McKenna. Overall, the pandemic has not affected the business as much as I thought it would. I think we're fortunate that construction needs to move forward. And when everything started, I had several projects that were under construction and they were held up a little bit, but not too much. But I do have one client that was really affected. And until we can truly open everything up, I think other clients will. He's a gentleman who is taking care of his elderly mother, and he too has some health issues, and we're designing the entire home to function better for both of them, for their vision, their mobility. But I felt so bad. As soon as we got started, everything shut down. And so his project's been quite delayed. But beyond that, I have a lot of new clients that are quite comfortable meeting me online first. We do our initial interviews that way. I have created a lot more virtual presentations than I did before. I still believe that in our industry, you need to actually see the materials that you're going to have in your home. So eventually we do try to meet to review any finishes, like we were talking flooring, all of that. You need to touch it and see it, but we can do a lot of the work leading up to that without ever being face to face. So overall, I think it's just taught us different ways to present and meet and work with our clients. But in the end, we do still need the interaction. So I hope that soon we will get past not being able to meet in person as much.
That's great. Thank you. And Lisa, how have you been doing?
Okay, so this might be a long story or response to your question, but I'll try to keep it short, I promise. Or maybe. Anyway, so currently I'm wrapping up on a project where the day for permit submission was also the first announcement of the stay-at-home order. And so I was freaking out and I called all my consultants, my structural, mechanical, and electrical engineers, like, hey, you're still going to give me your drawings, right? They're like, yeah, we got you. So, okay. Nonetheless, we made it. We submitted our drawings to DPP, Department of Planning and Permitting. We got the permit approved in record time, but Hawaii's COVID numbers was still rising at the point. So we had to incorporate ideas that, one, is still flexible and safe, two, does not conflict with the aesthetics and the design that we did for the client. So what we ended up doing is adding a thermometer at the entry. So we had to add a receptacle at one of the column posts, but integrate it into the design that doesn't look as if it's something is protruding into the space. We had acrylic panels that are not really fixed, but they can also still be removable because it was attached by double-sided foam tape that separates the staff and clients or customers. It will have floor indicators that has a 6 feet social distancing. And the big item here is that we added the UVC lights that are installed in all the 3 rooftop units of the space. And for those of you who don't know, UV lights or UVC lights are ultraviolet lights that are known to kill COVIDs and SARS. And we also propose to clean out the filters more frequently with high MERVs. And MERVs are minimum efficiency rating values that goes on a scale from 1 through 12. And the higher the number, it means it actually traps more of the pollutants through. But the downside of having a higher MERV filter is that you will have your mechanically ventilated system or your AC working harder because they're trying to go through that thicker filter. And that is my response.
Thank you. And Chin, how have you and your clients been adapting in response to the pandemic?
There's a lot more Zoom calls and less in person, like how Nancy talked. And we have all project types, so residential it kept going. Hotels completely stopped, and the commercial one that we had, a bank lobby, we had to change all the materials midway, like after specifying and starting purchasing, we had to change the fabric to be the COVID cleaner safes that the fabrics won't deteriorate and it can handle those type of cleaners. And well, the meetings, the process, I had to make it more efficient. Usually we pick something for the client and suggest something first and see if they like it, and if not, we keep changing. But during COVID, I had the clients tell me more of what they prefer and like, and we can narrow it down faster.
Thank you. And just for those who don't know, when looking for a professional interior designer, you can access an entire list by island at our website, hi.asid.org, under our Find a Pro tab. We will also be hosting an Ask a Designer event next month where you will have the opportunity to ask our interior designers any questions you may have about what they do and how they can help with your projects. Now we do have some time for a Q&A, so I'll start with Nancy. How do you find an interior designer that's right for you?
I always recommend to people to interview several clients. For commercial work, it's usually about a team that it specializes in the type of commercial work that you're doing. But when it comes to residential, it can get a lot more personal. We enter their spaces, we learn how they live their lives, and we need to know who all is there, how many people, if it's a multi-generational home. And so you need to have a good open dialogue, excuse me, and a good communication with the client. So I think it's best for someone to interview 2 or 3 clients. I would also suggest maybe going to websites. Some designers have a particular look that they prefer. Other designers do not. We all have our specialties. And so you might learn more about that if there's a particular thing, like for me with the aging in place. So you can find out more about that if you look at their websites.
Thank you. And Lisa, my question to you is, why should you hire a professional interior designer?
There are so many reasons why you should, but I'll narrow down to a couple reasons. The first one would be that better quality of life that piggybacks onto my first response of how individuals spend 90% of their time indoors, and indoors have higher pollutant contaminations versus outdoors. And the second would be if someone who doesn't have the experience in design or renovation, etc., a professional interior designer helps organize your thoughts or ideas and turns those into reality. And we also streamline the process that will save you as a client time, money, and headaches. And in the long run, during the whole process of the whole renovation or design, if I saved you from taking an Advil or 2, that means I did my job.
Thank you. And my question to Chin is, as an interior designer, what questions might you have for the client before starting a project?
The first two most important one is time and budget. Time is to see if we can make it in your deadline and how realistic it is, and then the budget, of course, just so we know where to start. And the rest is this what types of things you like, the style, what's your goal for the project. If it's commercial, it's easy, but for residential, it's a little bit more subtle, so I have to understand it deeper.
Thank you. And so my closing question now to all of you is what inspires you right now? So how do you generate new ideas for designs? And we'll start with Nancy again.
I do pay attention to trends. I enjoy and get motivated by looking at design magazines and reading articles about new materials and things coming out. But I have to say the most inspiring thing for me is my client. When I meet a new client, I've been very fortunate to have wonderful relationships with my clients, and what they need to make their lives better or to improve their daily situation just to me is the biggest inspiration I could ask for, and the rest just kind of falls into place.
And Lisa?
So, what inspires me right now? I would say it's flexible design, which is also known as adaptive design, and its ability to adapt for different purposes. So, let's say you have more flexible furniture that has multi purposes for different scenarios that the client needs, have less fixed in millwork, or like so, which is also great for, let's say, an office space. Like if you're designing for an office space and they tend to, or the client wants to move out, and if they're able to take as much of the things that they have within the space with them for their new space, it also reduces the amount of waste that actually goes into the landfill, which is overall is good for the environment in the long run. And the second question that you're asking is, how do you generate new ideas for design? That is similar to what Nancy was saying. It's pretty much my clients, because clients help me generate new ideas for design because everyone is different. Everyone lives differently. They use a certain type of product differently than the next person. And that provides opportunity for new ideas or new perspectives for another design. And if you're interested in knowing more about what was discussed today or what we do as interior designers, feel free to book a session with us next month at our ASID Designer event. And McKenna will talk more about it later, but I just wanted to add that in as well. And thank you, American Society of Interior Designers, President McKenna Makizuru, for having me today as a guest panelist.
Thank you, Lisa. And now we'll hear from June.
For inspiration, it depends on the project. So for us hotels, it'll be more about the style and what newness we can bring that brings the Hawaiian, something about Hawaii into the project, but still be modern and up to date. And for residential clients, it really depends on the personality of the client. So yes, we can say that it's inspired from the clients, but they don't really tell us. Sometimes we have to just read off of their personality, and some people have stronger personalities or more clear personalities that we can play off of, and some are very subtle and gentle, and so the design comes off of that, and then our own personalities too, like me and my designers, we mostly like it clean and simple and more modern. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to our panelists. Please remember, if you're looking for a design professional, you can visit the ASID website, and also please be sure to attend our Ask a Designer event. We'll be hosting the event on April 9th and April 10th, and you'll have the opportunity to meet with a designer in person or virtually for a 30-minute session for only $30. We will have an Eventbrite link up soon for you to sign up. If you're interested in attending or would like to know when the next Ask the Designer event will be, or if you have any questions, You can contact me at president@hi.asid.org. Thank you.